Hi and welcome to my channel. I'm Patty and this is my handmade lifestyle. I go by Patty Mac Makes everywhere online, and on this YouTube channel you can expect to see a whole lot of bakes, makes, and gardening. In today's video we're in my living room and I'm sharing with you like one of the biggest projects I've done yet. I repainted this whole feature wall here in my living room, and oh my goodness, I put it off for a long time. I was really afraid to do it because this is all wood slats. The drywall on either side, I had painted that before and I was really tired of the color. I've just had kind of a shift in my aesthetic, and I was really tired of looking at this poorly done brown wood feature that it really is the centerpiece of the room, and it wasn't sparking joy. So it was time to lighten it up and brighten it up, and that's what I did. I was really afraid of this project because it was such a large project for me, and so I'm going to give a huge shout out and thank you to my friend in real life, Megan, who has a fantastic DIY channel here on YouTube. She goes by Bell and Cotton. I will link to her below. I've known her in real life, like I said, for a long time. I don't think we've figured out how long. At least 10 years, but probably longer. We need to figure that out. But anyway, she will take on anything. She even builds her own furniture. So she inspires me to do a lot of stuff, and she spent a lot of conversations with me on what to do about this wall. And I entertained doing chalk paint because she loves chalk paint and has chalk painted a whole lot of stuff, and I was a little afraid of it for something like a wall. I am going to be doing in the future this little chest that you can see down here. That is something my dad made while he was in the Navy, so it's special to us. But I'm going to give it a little bit of a makeover and freshen it up. And yes, I'll do a video on that because I'm hoping you'll enjoy seeing some of these kind of projects also. But anyway, this wall. So in my neighborhood, most people who have gone through and remodeled these homes, they have completely removed this feature. So they have taken it out and done like just drywall and a whole new mantelpiece and the whole thing. And I have mixed feelings about that. So it looks nice, but it does remove the original character of the home. And I'm kind of burned out on HG TV shows where they come through and they just, you have people who say, oh, we want an older home because we want character. And then they proceed to come in and remove everything about the home that was character. So I didn't want to do that. Plus, I couldn't afford it. I'll be straight up with you. I didn't have it in my budget to be ripping all of this out. And I still am glad that I didn't do it, even if I did have the funds for doing it. So I painted it, and it really gives the space this feeling of being like a vintage cottage. And my home is small, and it's an older home. It was built in 1983, and it is a cottage feel. And so I'm really happy that doing this project just further solidifies that feel. So let's talk about what I did. And I think first of all, let's revisit Patty of the past. And I shot some pre-footage talking about what this was, and then you can see it before. And let's take a look at that, and then we'll come back and I'm going to show you exactly what I used and how I went about picking out the colors, because when I shared this project on Facebook, People were wild for it, first of all. I was really surprised at the overwhelming response that I got. And everybody wanted to know how I picked out the colors. And so I'm going to show you what I did. It's the easiest thing I can think of when it comes to picking colors, because that can be really overwhelming. Okay, so let's go visit Patty of the past, and let's take a look at some of the process and what went on. And I'll meet you back here, and I'll show you what I used. Here's my space prior to the painting project, and this is pretty standard for what was put in all of the homes in this neighborhood. My home was built in 1983, and this, like, I don't know, wood paneled feature fireplace wall, that was pretty common for that time period. And you know, I didn't like totally dislike it, but it wasn't quite right for us. So that's why I decided to go ahead and paint it. And you can see I've already painted the two side walls, and I felt like the coral was a little bit much, and I wanted to change the curtains. So it was just the right time to go ahead and repaint the whole project. So there's the before. You can see I've got like a really nice high cathedral style ceiling, and we have already replaced the skylights and the fan, and so I don't know, shifting this into more of a beach cottage feel, it just seemed like the right thing at the right time. You can see that the wood was not well finished. I mean, it was just super rough. It was, oh my gosh, it had so many nail holes. It was insane how many nail holes they used to put the paneling in place. So I had a lot of patching to do. So, you know, this was not like a finely finished piece in here at all. And I think painting it has given it a whole new life. That's where you can see that the mantle was placed, and I took that down to test basically beforehand. And there is the hearth, and I did quite a bit of cleaning on that to shine it up, and it really looks a lot better now. Here's a closer up shot of the other side of the fireplace, and I mean, just, oh my gosh, look at the nail holes. And up here, I don't know what in the world they were doing, but you can see I've just got all kinds of different textures and holes and not holes, and yeah, that's not the greatest photography, sorry. So this is what I used to fill the nail holes, this plastic wood, and I just squeezed it out and applied it with my finger. Here we are in process, and you can see how many places I had to use that filler to fill in holes. Oh my goodness. So I did this early on a Sunday morning, and I let it dry until about, I don't know, mid-morning the following day. And then I had to go in and hand sand all of that down so that it was a nice smooth finish. But you can see it was a lot of patching to go in and do. And I will tell you, when you're doing a project like this, your success honestly lies in the amount of time that you spend on this part of it. Your prepping, your patching, your priming, that's really where you spend your time. The actual time of putting the paint up, it's not that much. It's what you do before the paint goes on the wall that really matters. So here's where we are. Here you can see I've started to really work on the project. So I've done some cutting in on that side wall with the paint color there, and I've sanded all of the patched nail holes on the fireplace, and I'm starting to brush in the primer. And what I did was took a small brush and started with the priming process of going into the slats, and I did all of that with a small brush because I really wanted that filled in. And then you can see that side I haven't even started on, so that all needs to be worked. But the big part of the process at this point is getting the fireplace primed and ready. And it was a two-step process because I had to first use the brush, get everything filled in all of the slats, and then I used a roller to roll the rest of the wood. And I applied 2 coats of primer to the surface of the wood. It's hard to believe it's the same room, isn't it? I mean, it's just nuts that just this coat of paint has made such a difference. Now, I will say, when I say just a coat of paint, it was a job. I'm not gonna lie. This was a job, but I did it in 2 days, which surprised me because I really thought it would take me a lot longer. Now, admittedly, I lost a little bit of steam when I was sanding out the patches from the nails. I could have done a better job on that. I would suggest, if you have it in your budget, to do a hand sander, like an electric sander, because it's a lot of elbow grease. And my elbows are not as young as they used to be, so that was a hard part of this project for me. But I really think the biggest key to my success on this project was doing 2 coats of primer first. A good primer is your best friend when you're doing a paint job. And this wood has not been touched since 1983 when it went on the wall. For 36 years, this has not been touched. So it had the original varnish, which was not like well done either, and just slapped up there. And then the mantelpiece was the super dark wood, and it was just dark, it was really dark. And this is a small room, and so when you have all these dark finishes, it makes it feel even smaller. So I started with the mantle to make sure I was going to like it, and I actually tested out the chalk paint on the underside first, and 2 coats of chalk paint did cover it well, but it was very, very flat, and I do like flat paint. Now, for a wall, yes, I like a really super flat paint, but I wasn't sold on it for a wall feature like this. I guess if you put the wax on it, it probably gives it a little more depth and life, but there's no way I could wax on here and have it look like anything because of the differences in the texture of the wood. So I was like, I don't think this chalk paint is going to be the right fit for this project. I have other things I'm going to paint that I'm using chalk paint, but this wasn't it. So what I wound up doing was I patched, I sanded best I could, and then I did 2 coats of this Kills 3 Premium. And this was recommended to me by the wonderful gentleman at the paint counter at my local Home Depot. So, big box stores get a bad rap, and sometimes rightfully so, but I'm going to tell you, my Home Depot is a great Home Depot. They have really good people working there, and they're extremely helpful, and I love the guys at the paint counter because they know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about. So shout out to Poppy and the crew because you did me right. This was a good choice. So he went and got this for me. Kills 3 Premium, heavy duty, high hide sealer, and stain blocker. So this is some good stuff, I'm going to tell you. But I still did 2 coats of it. So that went up. And then the paint is this Behr Marquee. and I went with a satin finish. I don't like high shine. I did satin. And this is interior satin enamel. So it's not a high shine enamel, but it is a satin finish, which is what I like to do on my woodwork. And the color is called translucent pink. Translucent silk. The color is called translucent silk. So it looks on here like tannish, but when it's on there, it really does look white. It's like a creamy white, which is more cottagey. You know, when the primer was up, it was a bright white, and that would have been a little too stark. So this warms it up just enough. And then on my walls, I did the Behr Marquee, and I'm going to tell you something. I buy the top of the line Behr Marquee. That is good paint. Really good paint. I've done my whole house in this paint, and I love it. I've always used Behr paints, but this new top of the line Marquee, this is a different paint. And I first used this brand when I did my foyer project, and I'll link over up here to the foyer project because it is beautiful. I'm looking at it now and it still looks gorgeous. We've kept it up and it's beautiful, and I'll probably do a check-in because I also did the other two walls in the same color, and it's gorgeous. So this Behr Marquee, it ain't cheap, but I'm going to tell you it's worth it. So this is like $20 some worth of paint, and so it ain't cheap. But I was able to color over here using one coat. So it's good paint. And its billed as being one coat hide guaranteed, and it's good stuff. Now on the walls, if I paint like just the plain walls, because my walls in here are horrible, I did have to do 2 coats. But let me tell you, when I first bought this house and I painted, I started in the bedrooms. I had to do 2 coats of primer, Kills primer, and 3 coats of color on top of that. And I am not exaggerating. It was a nightmare. 5 coats of paint to cover the walls. So paint technology has come a long way in 6 years. And I am super grateful for that because 5 coats of paint is a lot of darn paint. And yeah. And I did not even have to prime these crappy walls with the new Behr Marquee. So you pay a little bit more for it, but I'm going to tell you something. It's a beautiful color. And this is not sponsored, by the way. Okay, I bought all this with my own money. This is just my opinion. I've done a lot of painting of walls in my life, and this is the best I have used so far. And so they have me as a customer for life. And based on the customer service that I got at my Home Depot, which is the Home Depot over in Red Mill, they're the best. You go in there, they will hook you up. Okay, so that's what I use. One of the big questions I get is, how do you choose your colors? And one huge consideration for me, because I do these YouTube videos and I'm starting to film around the house, I have to be really careful with my color selection because when light comes in and bounces off of the color, it does reflect back. We call it a color cast in photography. And so you're going to wind up with that color cast on your skin tone. So if I put a blue, if I put a green, because originally I was going to do a green over here because I thought that would look really restful. The problem is, if I put a green over here and I'm filming videos out here, it's going to do a green color cast on my face because as you can see, like these hot spots, that's from the skylights. Like I have overhead light on me right now because this room gets beautiful light, which is why I want to film out here more. The light is so good. But if I put green, if I put blue, that's going to reflect back on my skin, and that is not going to be flattering on my skin tone. And in fact, I don't know anybody that blues or greens are going to be flattering on skin tone. So I stick to like neutrals, whites, and pinks, because I know a pink is going to reflect back and be flattering on my face, and a neutral, you know, you're not going to have to do a lot of color correcting when it comes time to manage the photos or the video. And I never thought I would like neutrals. I've always liked all this crazy bright color, but I guess I am mellowing with age, and I really like my neutrals now, because what I'm looking at that you can't see is the foyer and the other two walls I just did, and they're a neutral, and I think they're beautiful. They look classy. Okay, they just look classy, and I think this looks really classy. Okay, so how do you pick your colors? Well, and again, this is not sponsored. This is my process. So you go in to the paint department, and it's just like this wall of paint chips, and that can be super overwhelming. And I'm guilty, you know, I love color, so I go through and bring home, like, I don't know, 3 dozen. But I found the best way to pick your colors is to get one of these books. And this book is based on what they call their one coat hide color collection, which is what I used. And in this book, what they have done is they have separated out sections by tone. So this is like your reds and your pinks. These are what they called apricot and rust, golds and lime, olive and sage, and so on. Here's your turquoise and teal. So they give you a range of color: lapis and sapphire, so amethyst and mauve. So they give you like this whole range of stuff. And then back in the back is your brown and your beige. But I worked out of this apricot and rust section. And so here's what I find. What I find is you can pick your color. So you pick your feature color, which for me was this over here. Okay. And I went with this one, Castilian pink. And I mean, you can see it's pretty darn accurate. And then I knew I wanted white on the fireplace. And so I picked from this top row. And there it is, translucent silk. So I went with that color and that color. So I stayed on the page. If you stay on the page, you're going to wind up with things that really work well together, because they have like the same base colors. And this stuff is created by, you know, color designers, and so they know what they're doing, they know what they're talking about, and so, you know, let them do the heavy lifting for you. Just use the book. Seriously. So like if I wanted to do like this vintage coral, I know, and you can see like this is the lightest to the darkest, so it's laid out by value. So this is your high dark values and your brighter values. And so if you know you want something darker, you pick down in here, and then you pick a lighter up here. Okay, so, and it looks like if you stick to a column, you're probably going to get your, like, the same, it's probably the same color in different values. So if you really wanted to make sure that you were getting something harmonious, like you could pick from up here and then stay in that lane, in other words. And it's going to work throughout the book. So if you wanted to do, like I've thought about doing like more of a golden color in my dining room, and I haven't decided. But I really like yellows. If you follow me on Instagram, you'll know I love, love, love yellows. So like this golden thread really calls out to me. So if I did a feature wall in that, and then I stuck with this, as my neutral, it's going to work really well together on the wall. Because sometimes, you know, things can clash. And if I picked like that golden thread and then I tried to use my leftover translucent silk, I'm kind of concerned that I would have a little bit of a clash, because you would wind up having something with an apricot or a pink undertone going with something with a yellow undertone, and that's not necessarily going to work. And then if you know you really want to be neutral, you could come back here to the brown and the beige. And you could just pick your feature wall from something in here. I mean, this to me is a very masculine page. So if you really need masculine colors, there you go. But, you know, I'm a girl. I don't have to please anybody really but myself and my mother. And my mother likes everything I pick, so, you know, that's super helpful for me. My advice to you, if you want to take on a project like this, is to make friends with the people at your paint counter. And if you don't feel like they know what they're talking about, maybe they don't, try a different paint counter. But take advantage of a good paint counter and work out of the book. And then if you're still really timid about the color, something you can do is to get a sample, and the samples are pretty good size, and you can paint the sample colors out. But I'm going to tell you, it looks different. Because when I first put this on, like, I always cut in first. So I taped off where I needed to tape. I cut in the color, and Mom was like, I don't know if I like the new color. And I said, why not? And she said, I think it looks purple. I said, it's not purple. She said, I think it looks purple. I said, first of all, you're looking at it in the dark. And it was next to the old color, which was like a really hot coral. I said, when colors are together, you can have an interplay, and things don't always appear as they seem. I said, just let me finish it. Let it dry down. You have to let your paint dry down at least 24 hours. And when your paint dries down, you have the real color. And now it looks like you expect it to look, and which is the Castilian pink is what we went with. And she loves it. So, and I mean, really, what's not to love? That's today's video, and I sure appreciate you watching, and I hope that it helps you to do a paint project in your home. I hope you're inspired by this. So let me know what colors you would choose, and have you ever painted like a wood feature wall in your home? Are you scared to do it? Does this hopefully inspire you to do it? Let me know. And share this video with your crafty friends, subscribe to the channel, all that good stuff, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.